I've never been the girl who fit into the mold. Not the thinnest, not the loudest, not the center of attention. But I've always had a soft kind of beauty, the kind you notice slowly, the kind that warms a room rather than sets it on fire. When I met him, I thought he saw that in me. First, everything felt safe. He complimented me in quiet ways, said he liked real women, loved that I was natural, and that I wasn't like the girls obsessed with gym selfies or calorie counting. I laughed then. I thought that meant he accepted me body and soul. But soon, the softness in his tone hardened, subtly at first. One night, while getting dressed for dinner, I asked if my dress looked okay. I was nervous. It hugged my curves a little more than I was used to. He smirked almost playfully. It's cute, just a little tight around the stomach. Maybe wear black next time, slimming, you know. I laughed with him. Loud. But something cracked silently inside. That night I barely touched my food. It didn't stop there. He started noticing what I ate, commenting on how I'd earned dessert only if I worked out the next day. He'd show me pictures of celebrities and say things like, "That's what dedication looks like." Always with a chuckle. Always with a little squeeze on my waist like he was teasing. But I felt every word, every glance. And the thing is, no one saw it. Not my friends, not my family. He's just joking. He's helping you be your best self. But I started shrinking. Not in size, not yet. But in spirit. I began measuring myself by his eyes, his tone, his approval. I'd stand in front of the mirror and tug at my sides, trying to flatten what I had once accepted, trying to disappear what made me me. I started doubting what I saw in the mirror. Because I wasn't seeing myself anymore. I was seeing what he saw. And in doing so, I disappeared. It wasn't always obvious. That's the thing about mockery. Sometimes it wears a disguise. Smirk. A compliment with teeth. A touch that lingers too long on the place you're most insecure about. Started small. "You're not fat," he said one morning while I pulled on my jeans. "You're just soft. Like squishy cute." He pinched my waist and laughed. I laughed too, because that's what you do when someone you love calls you cute. But I didn't forget the word before it. Squishy. I began to notice the pattern. At restaurants, he'd subtly guide me away from creamy dishes or dessert. "You'll feel better if you don't overdo it," he'd whisper like he was doing me a favor. When we passed by girls at the gym or on Instagram, he'd scroll slowly and comment, "See, that's the type of dedication that gets results." One night, I caught him zooming in on a fitness model's waist. He looked up at me and said, "You could look like that, you know, if you tried." He always smiled after these things. Or followed them with a kiss. So how could I be mad? He was just being honest, right? That's what my friends said when I finally confided in one of them. "He's just trying to motivate you," she said. "It's not like he's calling you ugly." My mom chuckled and told me, "That's just how men are. If he didn't care, he wouldn't say anything." So I started to believe maybe I was the problem. Too sensitive. Too emotional. Too heavy. And slowly, my personality followed the weight of his words. I stopped wearing tight clothes, even when I loved how they looked on other women. I ordered salads I didn't want. I stared at plates, torn between hunger and shame. I stopped dancing, stopped taking photos, stopped being myself. Some nights I'd binge when I was alone, spoon in one hand, shame in the other. Then I'd cry in the bathroom, gripping my thighs, hating the body that held me, and hating myself more for letting him make me feel this way. My inner voice was exhausted. One moment I wanted to please him. Maybe if I just lost a little weight, he'd love me more loudly. The next I wanted to scream, throw my plate, leave the table and never come back. But I didn't scream. Instead I broke quietly. It was in a changing room, beneath fluorescent lights that showed every inch of me I tried to hide. I tried on a dress I used to love, and it clung in all the wrong places. I stared at myself in the mirror for too long. I imagined his voice beside me. "It's just not flattering." And then I sat down on the little bench and opened Instagram. Roll. Flat stomachs. Hashtags. Hashtag no excuses. Hashtag summer body. Hashtag glow up. Roll. Another perfect girl. Another caption that felt like a taunt. I stared at my reflection again. And for the first time, I didn't recognize the woman in the mirror. She looked tired. Defeated. Smaller somehow, even though she hadn't lost a pound. I wiped a tear with the back of my hand and whispered, so low I wasn't sure I meant to say it aloud. Is this all I'm worth? It happened at his friend's birthday party. We were standing in a group, drinks in hand, when someone pulled out an old photo from a trip we'd taken a year ago. There I was on the screen, mid-laugh, arms around him, wearing that red sundress I used to love. I smiled at first. I remembered that day. It was hot, we were happy, or so I thought. Then he leaned in, loud enough for everyone to hear, and said, "God, look at your arms. You've come a long way since then." The group chuckled awkwardly. Someone changed the subject. But I stood still. A tightness spread in my chest like I'd swallowed fire. My face flushed. I didn't say a word. I laughed too, even. But inside, something snapped. Not the kind of snap that breaks you. The kind that sharpens you. He thinks I won't change. He thinks I'll always laugh it off. He thinks I'll never leave. He has no idea who he's waking up. That night I went home and deleted every fitness influencer who made me feel like trash. I unfollowed old classmates who only posted their beach bodies and their perfectly curated lives. I turned off the noise. And then I turned inward. I didn't announce anything. No dramatic status updates. No gym selfies. Just silence. I started waking up earlier, before work, before excuses. I walked, then jogged. I downloaded an app to learn about food. Not to punish myself, but to understand my body. I watched videos on discipline. Read books on self-worth. I replaced music with affirmations that made me feel powerful, even when I didn't believe them yet. I bought workout clothes in my size. Not goal size. I wasn't waiting to become someone else to feel worthy. And I never told him. He thought I was busy with work or just moody. He still made his little comments, tossed his insults wrapped in concern. I nodded, smiled. Let him think I was shrinking. What I was really doing, I was building. Building a body that moved with power. A mind that no longer swallowed his words. A heart that beat only for itself. There were days I wanted to quit. Days I ached all over. Days I stared at the scale and saw nothing move. But something was moving. Me. For the first time in years, I was moving in a direction that didn't orbit him. I'd come home from workouts and pass him on the couch. Same place, same smirk. He'd ask if I wanted to split a pizza or watch something mindless. I'd say, no thanks, and go take a shower. He'd shrug like it meant nothing. But it meant everything. This wasn't about weight anymore. It was about me. Change doesn't happen in a single moment. It's not one workout or one salad or one pep talk in the mirror. It's every 5 a.m. alarm that you answer when no one's watching. It's sweating through a hoodie on a freezing morning while your body begs you to stay in bed. And I answered. Again and again. First it was painful. Every joint screamed in rebellion. My legs felt like bricks, my breath short and shallow. I cried through more than one plank. I doubted myself with every sore muscle, every skipped rep. But something inside me, something ancient, something angry, wouldn't let me quit. I prepped my meals in silence. I measured not because I hated my body, but because I was finally learning to fuel it. I drank water like it was sacred. I went to bed early when I used to scroll myself to sleep with envy and shame. The first real change wasn't on the outside. It was in my thoughts. My mind stopped being my enemy. Instead of, "You'll never do this," I heard, "Just get through today." Instead of hating the mirror, I started using it, not to criticize but to witness. There was a morning, maybe 6 weeks in, when I caught my reflection post-shower. My stomach still had softness, but my shoulders looked stronger. I saw curves, yes, but also a certain shape that hadn't been there before. Intention. smiled. It wasn't pride. It was recognition. Like meeting an old friend I forgot I had inside me. As my body transformed, so did the way I moved through the world. People noticed, in the gym, at work, even strangers in coffee shops. But it wasn't just about weight loss. It was the way I carried myself. Shoulders back, eyes up, presence. Men looked at me differently. Women complimented me without jealousy. But I wasn't doing this for any of them. Not anymore. My confidence wasn't loud, it was solid. Like stone. Like fire tamed by discipline. And he noticed. The boyfriend who once called me squishy now stared too long when I got dressed. He started asking questions. "You're really into this fitness thing now, huh? You sure you don't want pizza tonight? You used to be more fun." First I smiled. I told him I felt good, that I was just taking care of myself. But the comments kept coming, sharper, edged with fear. "Oh, you're getting all this attention now. Don't forget who was there before. You're not better than me, just 'cause you lost a few pounds." I watched his insecurity grow. The tighter my skin got, the stronger my legs became. He tried to pull me back into that shrinking space I once lived in. With food, with guilt wrapped as love. But I didn't fit there anymore. I was expanding. Emotionally, I was miles ahead of the girl who used to cry in dressing rooms. I no longer asked him for approval. No longer flinched at his jokes. In fact, I stopped laughing at them entirely. The detachment wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a fight. It was quieter than that. It was the way I no longer cared what he thought. The way his voice no longer echoed in my head when I looked in the mirror. Because the mirror, my old enemy, had become my proof. I could see her now. The woman who had crawled out of shame and into strength. The woman who forged her identity in the fire of discipline and self-love. The woman he never truly knew, and could never handle. And one night, standing in that mirror, towel wrapped around me, hair damp, muscles sore, heart steady, I whispered to myself, "This is me. And I'm not hiding anymore." By the time I decided to leave, I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't even sad. I was simply done. No dramatic trigger. No screaming match. Just a slow, steady awakening that I deserved more. And not just from him, but from myself. I planned it quietly, like everything else I had been doing for months. I saved a little money. I found a short-term rental near the gym I loved. I packed the things that mattered and left behind the things that didn't. It was a Wednesday when I finally said it. He was on the couch, eating chips, the TV louder than it needed to be. I stood there, holding my keys, heart calm. He looked up, half distracted. "You heading to the gym again? Damn, you're obsessed." I smiled, not kindly, just knowingly. "No. I'm heading out." He frowned. "Out where?" "Out of this. Of you. Of here." That got his full attention. "What the hell are you talking about?" He stood up, suddenly defensive. "You're just gonna leave? After everything?" "Yes." I said it with the ease of truth. "Because everything you gave me wasn't love. It was smallness. And I've outgrown it." He laughed. That same mocking, bitter laugh I used to shrink under. But this time it sounded small. Weak. Scrambling for power. "Oh please. You think just because you lost a little weight, you're too good for me now?" I looked him in the eye, and in that moment I saw it, the fear. Not of losing me, but of losing control over me. "This was never about my body," I said softly. "This was about you needing me to stay small so you could feel big." He started in again, blaming me, calling me dramatic, listing the times he supported me. But I didn't flinch. I didn't argue. Because I didn't owe him closure. I owed myself peace. So I walked to the door. "Wow," he muttered behind me. "Guess I should have mocked you more. Might have turned you into a supermodel." I turned halfway, just enough for him to see the look in my eyes. Not pain, not hate, just steel. "No," I said. "You don't get credit for what I built. And you don't get front row seats to the show you tried to kill." Then I left. And I didn't look back. Because this wasn't revenge. This was rebirth. And I chose me. I wasn't looking for anyone new. After everything, I told myself I'd stay single for a long while. Maybe forever. I liked my quiet mornings, my peace, the rhythm I had built with my own two hands. I was in love with the way I no longer questioned my worth. And then I met him. Not in some dramatic movie moment. No sparks flying or glasses shattering. Just a conversation at a community workshop on wellness. He complimented my thoughts, not my appearance. Asked me what I was passionate about, not where I worked out. We spoke for an hour about purpose, music, and the way some people make tea like it's a ritual. He didn't flirt. He listened. I didn't feel on display. Felt seen. Still, I was cautious. I knew what it felt like to be valued for the wrong reasons. I had spent too long mistaking validation for affection, attention for care. So when he asked to meet again, I hesitated. But I went, slowly, carefully, on my own terms. And he matched me step for step. He never once commented on my figure. Not even in compliments. He talked about how I lit up when I spoke about my goals, how my laugh had layers, how I made space for people around me. He brought food to share one evening, something warm and homemade, and I didn't panic about calories. Just ate. Slowly, gratefully, without guilt. With him, my body wasn't currency. It was simply mine. We moved slowly. No rush, no pressure. Just presence. He never tried to fix me or rescue me. He just stood beside me fully. Like someone who understood that healing isn't about being saved. It's about being seen. And I realized something, sitting across from him one night as he talked about his own journey with self-doubt. This wasn't revenge. This wasn't about proving anything to anyone. This was proof. Proof that when you honor yourself, the world begins to honor you back. Proof that love doesn't mean losing yourself. It means expanding, safely, beautifully, together. He's not a replacement for the man I left. He's a reflection of the woman I became. I used to think the goal was to be wanted. To shrink enough to be acceptable. To fit someone else's version of beautiful, worthy, lovable. But now I know the goal was never to be wanted. The goal was to be whole. When I look in the mirror today, I don't just see a different body. I see a different story. A woman who once stood in rooms too afraid to take up space, now walks in like she built the ground beneath her feet. Not because she's thinner, but because she's free. My arms, once mocked, now lift more than weights, they lift others. My legs, once called too much, now carry me across finish lines I never thought I'd reach. And my stomach, once the target of cruel jokes, now softens with pride, not shame. This journey was never about revenge. Not really. It was about shedding the version of myself that believed I had to earn love through pain, through silence, through submission. It was about reclaiming my body as mine. Not a battleground, not a billboard, not an apology. People ask me now, was it worth it? Every sore muscle. Every tear in the early mornings. Every lonely night when I was letting go of what was never love. And I say yes, 'cause I didn't just lose weight. Gain power. Not the kind that shouts. The kind that lives in your spine, in your breath, in your gaze when you finally meet your own eyes and say, I know her. And I'm proud of her. To anyone who's been laughed at, overlooked, underestimated, know this. Don't lose weight to be loved. Be loved because you found yourself. And when you find her, the woman beneath the hurt, the doubt, the noise, hold her close. 'Cause she's not weak. She's not broken. She is becoming. They mocked my body. But my body carried my fire. And now, carries my crown.